Hello and welcome back to Spect. Today we'll be making some concrete bases for our readers for the next magazine of Warhammer Conquest, and I'll be using bases, our seasonings of the three types that we know. So we have our mixed one in here, our parsley and our mixed herbs. You guys see more about that in a previous video. We have our super glue and sand. I've got some new white glue today just to make it all stick down very nicely. Any type will do, the PVA glue, and that'll be fantastic. As always, we have our brushes, scissors, paints, white and black paint, simple cheap paint as always. What can I say? Cheap and cheerful always works. I'm going to be using two materials today. I'll show you those when I come back. There's some cork board, see there, and we have some of that yoga mat. You can see it's just an old piece that I'm going to be using, and we're going to use both of these to give the base one a kind of rock base, and the other one will be a concrete base. And I think the third base will probably make in some form of combination of the two. And we see how it comes out. I'm not too sure how it will. Oh yeah, also a sponge to help get the paint onto the item. This is just a spare bit from the containers that we made in the previous video. Alright. So what I do when making these is I get an idea of the size of the base. I'm just going to draw around here. Now this isn't going to be the exact size that I want, but just to give me an idea when I'm breaking this up. Okay, so I'm just going to be breaking this here, just literally tearing this. Now this is a bit thick, you can make this thinner if you want to, but this is just giving me the outside, and you can keep these little pieces as well, just the outside guideline there, and that's okay, it just tears really easy. If not, you can always get your pliers and just pick it. Now this came about due to the request of one of the comments below one of my videos previously, and I thought it was quite a good idea. And I know this is on YouTube and there's plenty of people doing cork bases, and people tend to use these for like like lead characters, HQ choices, and I thought it would be nice just to show you how I actually do it, which is a combination of a base, a little bit of greenery, make it look like someone standing on top of some sort of like plinth or something. But anyway, so we've got our base, we've got our material. Yes, there is a little slit there that you can see, the slot of base, but we're going to cut that off the base of the model like we did last time with our lava bases. And as you can see there, a lovely looking material, all well exposed. I think that will look good there. Let's put that down. Just going to glue that down. Going to get our super glue. I'm going to give it a little touch. Now make sure that you never leave your Gorilla Glue laying down on the side, because yeah, it glues itself to its lid. So just taking it off there and pouring this in. This is danger time. Danger, so much glue. Okay, let's just try and run that on the other base for future. There you go. So hopefully that sticks, and let's get the piece that we had. I think it was this piece here. I'm just going to put that over like so. Now if the base goes over the edge a little, it doesn't matter too much, it just makes it look a little bit more epic and cool. That's how I normally deal with them anyway. So that's the first part. Doesn't seem like much, very simple. And let's move on to the next part. I'm going to get our white glue. Let's pour that on. And you could actually put this all over the top section here. The reason why I'm doing this is so I can add some texture with some seasonings that I forgot to mention earlier. And the sand. And you'll see there. So I'm just looking for a little sponge. There we go. Just dab that in. Now the sides have a lot of texture, but I find that the top doesn't have very much. You can see there. Okay. So it's very flat. Now this is really good if you're using hard cuts to make this like a concrete slab, but I'm not actually doing that at the moment for this particular base. We'll start with a little bit of this cinnamon. You see there? Just put that on the underside because this is where the dirt is going to be. You know, just like where the edge of the rock is and dirt, you can really see that kind of effect coming in there. We're going to take our sand, and this is so quick. This is so quick that you could do multiple versions of these all in one go. Take our sand, run that on top. There you got an extra texture there. As you can see, right away. Okay, let's put that away and come back with the seasonings. Okay, now we're back, we've got the base there. You can see the detail. You can see the texture on top. There's automatically texture here. Now we're just going to add a little bit of greenery to sell this, just a little bit for now. And then we're going to come back and paint over this. Okay? And that sounds weird that we're doing it in this order. But then that allows us to come and bring back the mixture of flock just to add to the top just there. And we spoke about that in the other video. Now I really like the idea of doing bases and giving them a theme or a narrative. And these will be for the readers for the Warhammer magazine next issue. And I believe the gentleman's name was Jay Garnett. He came up with narrative bases, and I really like the sound of that. If you like the sound of that, let me know in the comments below. If you've got any alternative names, let me know, and they'll be up for consideration. Because I find it fun and actually quite relaxing when making these bases. And as you make them alongside with me, I'm sure you do too. If you've got any other suggestions for bases, again, just put them in the comments below. And as you can see, I do read the comments, which is why I'm making these bases now. So we just added the white glue there. And we're just going to add a little bit of the kind of dry mixed herbs. And we're coming in for the parsley for the touch of that brighter green, as I always like to combo them. There you go. It's looking kind of nice there. I'm really pleased with the responses for the Warhammer magazine Conquest giveaway for issue 1. The channel's really growing, and it's growing really fast, and it's really organic. I like the people which have been commenting and, you know, kind of asking for what they would like to see. And from a viewpoint of a beginner, it's really handy to know where we're going, because all this is obviously new to me. I've got a new intro, but you know, it's still all new. And I'm glad you come along for the journey. So I'm gonna let this dry. Leave that there. We could be getting on with the other base, but you know, one at a time. We'll go from there. Catch you in a second. Right, okay, we're gonna take our paint. Let's add a little time to dry. I'm actually gonna use the sponge again, just so I can dab this on so it doesn't lift off any of the sand. So I really want that for texture. The advantage is you could do a lot of these all at the same time. Once one set is dry, you can move on to the next set, and it's so easy. So I'm just coming in here, adding this on. As you can see, straight on. Yeah. Sometimes I get so carried away with kind of doing this and looking. It's actually quite so enjoyable. It's nice and quiet as well. If there's anything you'd like to see, let me know. I'll get back with that. But I'm really just preparing some videos for the lore videos. So give you an idea of what to expect, who will be involved, where it's from. When it comes to Warhammer 40k, it's, you know, the universe and the events that happen. I'm really looking forward to it. I called up the Conquest magazine company today to find out where my delivery is, and they were happy to tell me that the items have been dispatched, but I will have to wait for the next few issues, as they come out once every week, but they send them in batches of 4. So in the meantime, I have other terrain projects which I'm going to be building in between to help enhance our play. Okay, I'll let that sit for a little bit and we come back to fill in the bits in between. Okay, got a little bit of brown in here on the brush. It's the only time I'm going to use the brush, really. So I'm going to kind of work a dingy, dirty colour in here, as you can see. So just an off kind of black colour. Let's get a bit of brown in there. So a bit more. I was just looking at my hands and thinking how dirty they are. Is it worth getting gloves? I had that comment as well. Yeah, it is worth getting gloves if you're messy like myself. But these are water-based paints, so it's very easy just to wash off. You see here, I'm just working this into the cracks. Not all of them. But most of them I'm pulling upwards from the bottom up. So it looks like the mud's kind of settled from the underside up. That'll give us another texture before we start the wash effect. Yeah, these bases don't take very long, but they really do tell a story of the character that stands on it. I tend to put my hero characters on bases like this. It does make them a bit more of a target on the battlefield, but at the same time, it gives us a sense of pride. And I've had one or two characters do some really heroic stuff, and I'll tell you the stories and legends of them. I'm sure you get bored of hearing them. But yeah, that will be soon. Right, let me just move the paints out of the way, put this down for a little bit and let it dry and come back again. Right, that's had some time to dry again. I've mixed a little bit of grey. I'll just put it on this brush. I'm just going to lightly pull this onto here. And it's going to be stark contrast to begin with, but as it dries it will basically tone back down. I'm going to see the streaks in there. Let's get a little bit more. Yeah. Once this is dried, we're going to use the white on this just to pull out the edges. So it doesn't matter too much right now how much stark contrast there is in this, but as long as you make sure it's kind of has main light point of view from top, so there's the light's coming from the top, you'll see that it makes a big difference. Just always keep the brush going in one direction, and that's towards down. So I should have mentioned that before. Focus at the edges. You don't really want a stark white though. It's very rare in nature for things to be stark white. You can see that brown that we had in there. Actually gives it like an additional, there we go, focus, there we go. Gives it like an additional tonage. Look at extra colours. And that's why we didn't want to make it all disappear. Now this is asphalt looking. And there we go, it's just enough detail. Come on, focus. Just enough detail in it. Oh, right, now you're focusing. Typical. So that's just enough detail in there to make it look like a piece of concrete. Now I'm just going to add a few additional things in there. You know, like broken slab, or, you know, you can use that for slate, anything. I'm just going to add a little few things in there and I'll get back to you. Hold on. Okay, so I've taken this piece of paper clip. I went there to be some like little metallic parts just sticking out, and I figured I'm just going to push this into here. Just push that into the cork. It'll take a bit of effort. But let's put that in. There we go. I'm going to paint that up to make it look like a piece of wire or something sticking out, or piping. You see it just come through the top there. Now be careful with this on the base when picking it up, but I think that looks pretty cool. Once I paint that up, you'll see what it looks like. Hold on. Give me a second. I'm just using this red. Be careful just to drop this on. Just to make it look like a pipe just sticking out of the rubble. Okay. Just leave a bit of the wire exposed. There we go. Let that first layer dry, and then once it's dried, I'll come back and just fill that in again. It's not a bad looking base. Really quick, simple, effective. I'll put that one aside and we'll start the other base. The other base, I'm going to be using this material, yoga mat material. You can use this for more acute angles for rock faces, but I'm going to try something here to make it look more like concrete. And that means a bit of precise cutting. So straight lines. I'll be cutting this as straight as I can, just in little pieces. Try to keep them as even as possible, just to mimic concrete slabs. This may be a bit thick, but you get the idea. You can obviously cut that in half if you want to. And I'm just going to make little slabs. That's all. Another way of doing this is actually putting this down onto the base and then kind of adding grooves in afterwards. But, you know, hey, I like to try things different. So you definitely have to use super glue for this base. There's no two ways about it. Because it doesn't really stick too well. Just leave little gaps in there. So you can really see it coming too. The concrete slabs have steps. Well, not actual steps, but I mean they step the concrete, so it just doesn't just go like one solid slab and the next solid slab. It's kind of staggered to give more like material strength, I believe. Could be wrong. If there are any concrete experts out there, concrete slabbing experts, please let me know, or any paving experts. Put a little bit on the side there. Use that same glue here. Let's push that onto there. I'll put that there. Should have really cut that before, but as you can see, it doesn't make much difference. Put it on before or after. If you're worried about all this extruded material, we're just going to trim around there afterwards. This does take a little bit of time to set, but in the end it's worth it. Should trim that up nicely before. You could always add damage to these to make it look as if, you know, something has hit it, some sort of mortar or something. So you could dig into the material. You could pick it with scissors or with a pen, just kind of, you know, just give it battle damage, and you just paint this slightly in a different way. So you see there? And we have this corner here, here, and that little bit there. Once done that, filling those in, I'll get back to you. But already it's taking shape. Right, you could really use this technique to make a whole mat, like a whole base if you wanted to. There's a guy called Sponge Foo on YouTube, and he does something very similar, or actually where he gets sponge, I think he puts it in a glue and kind of black paint composite like a Mod Podge, and then he uses those as building bricks. He's created this lovely little village, and it actually looks really good. So go over and check that out to get the idea. He mixes them all in a bucket, pre-made, lets them sit. I think I would probably add sand to the mixture. He might do, I'm not too certain, just to give it a little texture. But then if you want smooth bricks, then that's not going to work, that texture, adding sand. So now I'm just pushing the sponge down to the base and just trimming round. Doesn't have to be perfect, just trim to the base. Should be suitable. Try not to get your hand stuck to the super glue, as yours truly already has. It's amazing, super glue. Doesn't like to stick to anything else other than your hand. There we go. Now if you have a look at the top of that, it's not perfectly round. CD is about to kick in. But before it does, let me stop there, and then we're going to paint this maybe black, maybe brown. We'll see. Whatever you want to paint that base, it's not a problem. Okay? That you use. Like, let nothing go to waste. All those little shavings and cut-offs we can use later on another thing. And we're just going to sponge this in. Now what I tend to find tricky is the underside of these. Like, no one is going to see the underside of the model apart from you. So don't panic. I love telling myself these things. There we go. Now, some people complain that this base is too high, it's too big, it might be given advantage for seeing over objects, but look, come on. Look how thick and cool that looks. Like, you could use that for so many different things. You could use this for like fantasy battles or something. Yeah, you have a whole army looking like this on these kind of bases. You can like marble texture this, as I've got with some of my models on Instagram. Oh, by the way, I have actually changed the name on the Instagram now to _spect_. So you can find me there on my latest projects, which admittedly I have been putting a lot of reminders for YouTube. The problem is with Instagram and YouTube, the kind of crossover is a bit difficult, I'm finding, because it doesn't send out reminders at the right time for people to come and see the new video. So I have to go through Instagram to remind them to come and have a look, you know. And the people there are so willing to be supportive, and it's been great. And then YouTube kind of messes around, but it's okay. YouTube it's okay. I'll let you off this time. There you go. So let me get the grey mixed up again. It could be grey, a touch of brown, but we'll get there. Let's get that grey together. I'll be right back. And I'm leaving more on here than I would with a normal dry brush. So I want to make it kind of as light as possible. Again, same direction. You pull these. Notice I said same direction and not one direction. So fangirls, stop screaming. And fanboys too. No, I am not a fan. There we go. Very simple. Now we've just got to let that dry. And when it dries, we'll come back and we'll hit the edges to make them stand out. But before we do that, we're going to add some plant matter in between the gaps, like you will find in real concrete. So we're going to get our glue, and when we come back, place that in those gaps and add in plant matter, which will be our seasonings. Yeah. So I've come back to the first base, and I just want to add a little bit more material. Just in front, just a little bit more. And we're going to go for our trusty tea bags here. So I'm going to take the content from inside the tea bag. I'm just going to put that on, just to add a rich, kind of warmer colour there. Make it look like that peat effect which I mentioned before. Let that dry and push the rest off. So you've got an outdoor base there, or maybe edge of a cityscape, or whatever it may be. That should have given us time for this one to dry. Okay, so let's get the glue into these gaps, and I'm literally going to pull this straight in. If it overflows on the edges, it doesn't matter too much, because we're going to use that area to add what will be like dust and dirt. So we're just filling them in, because no concrete slab is that tidy. I'm going to dirty these bases up using our wash technique that we've done before. There you go. So it's in there. We're going to take, I think we'll go for a dried effect. So we're going to get our mixed herbs. There you go, it's dry. And we're actually going to push that inside that area. Don't want to cover the whole thing, we just want it inside the areas. And we can always kind of move that into place where we want and just control it. There we go. A small item. So the wind's been blowing it around and just pushed it into those spots. The weeds are growing in. There we go. A little touch of the high contrast green, just a little bit. Shouldn't really mix them together, but hey, I think it'll look right. So you've got that paved effect. Now once that dries back, I'm going to dirty out the base, and you will still see, there we go, just there and there, there's a little gap there. We'll let that dry out, come back to it. Take off the top, because what we want is the stuff on the inside between the gaps, like it's growing, to get through. Nature always fights the local environment when it's left to its own devices, and we want to make it look like it's had some time. There's a little stray leaf there, that looks good. Just move it around so you're comfortable. No, there's no mistakes with this. Just make it look natural. If it was all controlled and they all look the same, it would be totally manufactured. But we're just helping it along. Yeah. The narrative base idea, which I mentioned earlier, it kind of makes me want to go back and start working on all the bases that I've done in the past to give them a story and why I've done them the way that I've done. And I think that's a good name. I don't know how many people agree. If you agree, put narrative bases in the comments below. It'll be fantastic. I just added some of the tea there, and we're just going to break out a little bit of our friend cinnamon. Not too much. There we go. See there. Now that's done, we'll let that dry, and then we're going to come back and just edge a little bit of a lighter grey. Just dry brush the corners and pull it down, and then that's done. And that's simple, 2 bases, done in a really short time, ready for play. You can see they're the same height. There, you can see they're the same height. So when you put the models on them, there's not really an advantage to be seen. And in comparison to our other bases, we'll grab those now. So excuse the rummaging, keeping them in a safe space. So making comparison to that base, there's not much difference in height. Yeah. Maybe about 5 mil or so. And if we look at one of the lava bases from the other video, you can see at the point where his foot is, it's not much different. There. So by the time you put your models on there, especially HQ units, they'll stand out. They'll look good, but they'll sit very well on like battle mats, which are kind of like the same kind of scenery or terrain. Alright, so I'll come back once they're dry so I can edge them. Alright, I've got some lighter colour on here. I'm just going to dab it on, just on the edges. Don't want too much. Oops, he says, and then right away. But as you can see, you can just brush that away slightly. And it blends back nicely. Try and get where the corners are, where the blocks interconnect. There. There, some gaps. Now I know concrete, when you look at it, the colour can vary depending upon what material's on it. You might have some rusting nearby, and you can just add that almost like a touch of orange, orange and brown mix. Always looks good. So I'm just going to focus there. There you go. You can start seeing it coming quite nicely. And I had a blast with the terrains and containers from the other day. Just using them, it was so much more easier to explain to a person that I've got into the Warhammer Conquest why they couldn't shoot through the edge of the play mat, through the containers on the mat itself. With the 3D versions, it was just obvious. If they couldn't see the model, they couldn't shoot. And that was fun, and that made so much more difference. And I'm actually quite grateful. There you go. He says, trying to get it to focus. There. Alright. Do the same for this one. Now, if I was going to take this to another level, I will put a couple of puddles on there, so brown the colour, maybe have rusting coming off the pipe here. Yeah, little simple things like that. But for now, that's just a very simple model base, or a couple of simple model bases. One for paved, cities. You could add any kind of lines on there, like maybe some road markings on some of the models I've done that for. This could be edge of city going to grass or to a field or something. Again, you could add a bit of detailing on here if you want to, or you can paint this slightly different and make it more rocky. And talking of rocky, the next project I'll be looking at is showing you how to turn expanded foam, which is this stuff here, expanded foam, into something more like this, and the painting process that I go through. So if you could like, comment, share and subscribe, we've reached the end for today. I know it's a very short video, but you know, this is just a couple of quick tips. And hopefully in the future it become narrative bases, where I have a story for the bases, but these are for the Reavers in the Conquest magazine, issue number 3, which I'll be doing a review for soon, I promise. Just been extra busy recently. And you know, I appreciate your time. So like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll get back to you. As always, this has been Spect. PC out.